We're live. Welcome, everyone. We did it. We still hope we have an audience. We're not sure if we do or not, but if we do, we'd love for you to just say hello to us. And our apologies for a little technical difficulty. We're just trying to do the best we can.
Yeah.
And sometimes it gets a little challenging because there are different platforms, and both of us we're on a different platform this time, so
Yep.
we didn't understand the host thing. But this is one of those things. This is even we can kind of tie this into our subject today just a little bit, Jen.
Big
As far
time.
as like people pleasing, hey, I want to get it right. I don't feel really comfortable when we don't get it right, and it
Yeah.
brings up some anxiety for me. I want to please you all you ladies out there who've been waiting for us. Thank you so much for waiting, and I want to be doing it right. And when I'm not, I'm get a little bit uncomfortable about it. But anyway, so thank you. Hello. Yes, Lauren, we're glad you're here.
Yeah. That's
And
good. Yeah, glad you're here. Yeah. So talk about people pleasing, right?
yeah,
When we were both like, okay, who can get on the page and just say, hey, we're trying to get on. um,
we had
and
people pleasing going in action right there.
yeah, yeah,
But as we're going to talk about it today, kind of people pleasing in an unhealthy way, where we lose ourselves. We become small when others become really big, and who we are gets lost in the people pleasing. I don't think that was, but we were trying to do it right and to do it well, and so that you all, yeah, we're on. We know. Thank you,
yeah.
Leslie. Says we actually, yeah, we've got that. Hello from Idaho. Hey, y'all, thank you so much for bearing with us. I think if you've been with us for a while, you kind of know sometimes if it doesn't work, we usually stick with it.
Oh, we work hard.
We don't go away and say, well, better luck next time. But
We wouldn't
we,
do that ethically or otherwise. Our hearts just wouldn't ever just leave
yeah,
anyone stranded like that, right?
yeah,
So,
not
yeah,
without the information.
yeah.
So
So,
anyway, well, welcome everybody. We're so glad you're here. We're really going to be talking about people pleasing as we move into our next course, and as we move into the week long daily, people pleasing activity, moving beyond activity that we're going to be doing. And we really actually should know what each day is going to be. I know we're going to be moving beyond overwhelm. Do you know some of the
yeah,
titles?
we've got, yeah. So coming up on starting the 19th. So what is that? Like just over a week or so
Right.
away. So we've got overwhelm, like you said, negative thinking and bad moods. So that's a good one to look into. Fear of failure, unrealistic expectations, and just overall people pleasing. We'll
Right.
just figure it out together by then,
Yeah. And
right?
Jess, if you would, if you're available or when you're available, if we'll get Jess to be able to put the banner at the bottom to be able to help us out and let you guys know what's coming up. It's going to be super awesome. And then at the end of that, we'll be doing a people pleasing course. So we're really talking about this for the next several weeks of what that looks like. And thanks, Jen, for putting that. I mean, Jess, for putting that up for us. So let's kind of dig in. So why we say yes to everything and everyone. And one of the questions that kind of came up for me when I was looking at this topic is I would venture to say that there is some level of tension, anxiety, whatever we want to call it. I like the word tension. Anxiety is kind of overused these days, but there's some level of internal tension that comes up and that I would love for us to be aware of, that that keeps us, or creates some resistance for us to be able to say no, or to be able to protect ourselves in some way, to be able to say, hey, that's not a good time. Maybe I need to take a minute to think about it. Let me look at my schedule. And even sometimes when we look at our schedule, we still say yes. And so, we want to be able to be aware of what may be coming up. So one of the questions I kind of like to start with a little bit is to say, ladies, what's one word that comes up for you when someone asks you to, and fill in the blank. Someone asks you to host a shower. Someone asks you to drive their kids somewhere. A spouse says, hey, let's have sex. You know, like, not, when we're asked and we don't really want the other person on the other side to feel bad or to live in their own tension or to live in their own anxiety, what's one word that comes up for you? Oh, go to lunch. Yes.
Yeah.
When somebody says, hey, you want to go to lunch?
Yeah.
Right? What's one word that comes up for you? Gulp. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's true. I do. I feel that. I felt gulp and then I feel it here.
Yeah.
I feel a tension. So tension, like you said, you already used that word, but tension in my body.
Yeah.
I feel it. And that's I used to ignore that. I used to ignore that big time. Now I don't.
Mhm.
But we're here to talk about the ideas of, what thoughts pop up or what physical emotions might or physical feelings might pop up as well in our
Right.
body.
Yeah.
So I love
Yeah.
that question. Yeah. What's the word? What's the
Yeah, what's the
what's
word
up?
for you? Apprehension? Fear?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yes. Oh boy.
Yeah. Oh, yikes. Is that one word then? It takes oh boy to one word. Yikes.
Yeah. Okay, we'll let you have two words.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I want you all to begin to think about what's coming up for you in that moment. Is it possible that you are so conditioned you're not even attuned to it?
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, I think that that's a possibility that we're so conditioned and our belief system is so strong to want others to be happy with us that we really aren't paying attention unless it's way, way wide.
Yeah.
That we just say yes without thinking about it. Oh, of course. And then we get home, it's like, oh, I don't even have time to do that. I can't believe I said yes again. Right?
Yeah.
And all the resentment starts coming up and all the frustration and all the thought processing, like, how am I going to get out of this? Oh,
Yeah.
but what will they say? Right?
Yeah.
Ladies, I want us to take us to that place. Go ahead, Jen.
No, I was just going to say, what just came up for me? And we've talked about this forever. And it really, honestly, just came up for me. I can picture myself at the Welcome Center at church as I'm hosting. And wow, I don't want to put this on anyone that it doesn't resonate with, but I now look back and I think arrogance, that I actually thought I could say yes and still somehow make it work, even though I didn't have a clue how I was going to make that work.
Mm.
So that's very bold of me to say right now, and maybe something that someone else needs to hear, because honestly, that just came up for me. Literally, like as you were talking, I've never even thought of it that way, that I will own it, that I think I was pretty arrogant, thinking I can do that and that.
Right. And that and that and that. Right? Right.
And then all the hangover kind of effects, as I call it, the emotional hangover later of having made a bad decision earlier on and having to suffer the consequences of it later.
Right. Right.
But it was arrogance at a time where I thought I could do all that.
Right. And then I'm so glad you're bringing that up, Jim, because I'm thinking what happens. I know I've done this at times, is that I've said yes, and then I start requiring of other people to help me. Well, I don't, and I start even persecuting. Well, I don't have time to do this and this and this and this, and yet, so you need to help me. Right. Oh.
Okay. So now we're gone from arrogance to persecutor. No, but it's true. I think, no, I, at least this is an amazing conversation we're having, because I think this is the opportunity for us to own that stuff, because it's the yucky stuff. That's why we're here. If it was all easy and rainbows and kittens, we'd all be like,
yeah,
whatever. But you know what? Let's own this. So yeah, we can become persecutors. We can start accusing others for not being there for us when we were the ones that overcommitted in the first place, not them.
Right.
How dare my kids not literally get their socks on fast enough because I overcommitted as to where we needed to be right now. And I might yell at my kids.
Right.
That stress, I put that on us, not them.
Right. Right.
Who knows? Who knows?
Wow. Right. And so, not sure we kind of knew this is where it would take us right when we started here, but ladies, this is so powerful, because we need to really begin to take ownership of our yays and nays. right? We need to take ownership of that tension. What's going on inside of me that I can't say no? I
Mhm.
need to stop and investigate that and really say, I've got to understand me. That's my responsibility. That's how I steward myself well. And I venture to say across the board, there's a lot of reasons why people say yes. And I would love to hear some more. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Sherry. And then we go right to martyr.
Martyr, martyr. Yeah.
I'm the only one.
I just do this.
Yeah, yeah. Our yes can burden others. Our yes can burden others. And
Mhm.
I have to be honest and say, most often our yes burdens others until we become mature, right? And healthy and grow into a place where we can say, I can live in the tension of, that not being able to say yes and actually owning that I actually am limited, right? And that arrogance comes from unlimitedness. Oh, I can say yes here and yes there and right and get it all done and everyone will be happy with me. If I say yes to you and yes to you, then the world is, then my anxiety goes down because everybody's happy until I've got to
I was
pull it
gonna
all off.
say, for how long? Yeah.
Right. Round one, it feels good. Round
Yeah.
two, right? Until I have to pull it all off. And then I can't pull it all off because why? Because I haven't been mature enough to step into the reality that I actually am a fallible, limited human being, right?
Yeah.
And ladies, that takes maturity. And it's always, I mean, I think our full maturity will be, certainly when we meet the Lord. And so we'll never be completely there until we're the Lord calls us home. But yeah, my brain always wants the next fun thing. Yeah, right. And so you know what? I'm so glad that you said that because that may be so true. Is that we're kind of addicted to another fun thing. And if I have to say no to that, that fear of missing out, right? We have a little FOMO going on. Nobody wants to say no to that, right?
No, of
But we're
course.
just investigating this, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I
Really,
think no, I think this is a great conversation, and seeing all these things is, the next fun thing. I think it's that impulsive nature
mhm,
and that instant gratification. I
right.
think it kind of like, whether it's like a certain addiction or something like that, it's like you put your hand on that stove, the instant gratification is, I got to take my hand off that hot stove. It hurts,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
So we're very reactive.
mhm,
Whereas here, in all of the programs that we offer,
mhm.
we always talk about, notice, pause, choose.
Right.
And that applies here as well. So we need to start noticing, oh, it's the next fun thing. Okay, well, pause. What does that mean? What does that mean to my schedule? What does that mean to my other relationships? What does that mean? And then we get to choose the next right thing
Right.
for us.
Right.
And I easier said than done. I know that's why we're here is to figure out how do we do that pause. But
Mhm,
at least you're bringing up such
mhm,
amazing things to
mhm.
get us to notice what that is,
Right.
it coming up in us,
Right. Right.
emotions,
What,
physical being.
right. Let's get a few more notices out there. What are you noticing, ladies? Because I
Yeah,
would love for us to kind of go all the way through this. Let's
yeah.
maybe this be a little bit of our guide. Let's, if you are watching, we can't see the count of how many people are watching, but if you are watching right now, get honest with yourself and say, can I notice what is it? And oftentimes I want to say that it is fear, that
Hmm.
I don't want to be what rejected.
Yeah.
I don't want to be,
I have
somebody's
to avoid
question,
conflict.
right? I have to avoid conflict,
Hmm.
right? What is it that you're noticing?
Yeah.
What is it that you're noticing? What would it take then to move to pause?
Hmm.
That's hard. Why? Because our body's already in motion,
Yeah.
right? And from, a little bit from the addiction world, they say you've already used long before you actually use. You've gone by the liquor store, you got that bottle, you love what, the shape of the bottle, you love, cracking it open, hearing the pour, long before you take a drink, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so, that's part of the noticing what it is that you do to participate in this chronic people pleasing.
Mm.
Why I can't step out of it.
Oh my gosh, you are going hard and deep for two people that came on a little bit late. This is awesome. No, this is awesome because you are asking us, you're asking me because I'm listening to you as your friend and colleague going, oh, wow, I owned this long before I owned it. Right? I had to, like, you're right. I mean, I had my people pleasing skills long before I was actually invited to take on that wedding shower or be the host for whatever and all of those things. So yeah.
Or say yes to our children even 1,000 times.
Oh,
right? Sure. Because we're always, we want the best for them, and we love when they're happy. It brings us joy and delight as well, but it's not what's always best for them. Sometimes no is very best. And so we are so conditioned, and we're already going, we're already in gear. So noticing, and then creating that pause, right? You want to speak into the pause part a little bit?
Oh, wow. Okay. So what I always say to myself, and then more so now to our groups and our individual clients, is I want to just let everyone know first, before we even get to the pause, the fact that you can even start to notice is what I always say. I joke because it's the bane of my existence. But when you paint a room, 90%, as my husband keeps reminding me, is the prep.
Right.
Take prep off. You have to I just want to see the different color. Don't make me have to do all that. But that's what the noticing part really is. So to me, if you can even start to notice, and notice can mean just, this is the first time thinking about it. Notice could be, I'm just joining in with Coach Elise and Jen for the first time. That's all starting to create that awareness.
Right.
So I just want to put that out there, that's huge. So I think that's the biggest part of what we're doing here. And then going into the pause is, okay, we've learned the hard way, like to use your example about the alcohol for, we've already led up to that. I noticed the bottle. I noticed the store. I noticed the sound of whatever that is. The pause is between all of that and then taking that drink.
Right.
The pause is all of that and going, okay, whoa, before I say yes, can I use those powerful words of maybe later, or can I get back to you, or let me check my schedule, or, something like that creates the distance long enough to help us make a wise decision. Right. And so it takes that noticing to go, oh, wait a second, I'm about to take that drink. I'm about to say yes to something I just can't right now. And know enough that even if you can't think of what regrets you might have for it later, just start to learn that even if all I do is say, I always quote Phoebe too from Friends. I'm a big Friends fan. She always says, I wish I could, I just don't want to. Wouldn't that be the best thing ever that we could say? But it's along those lines. I don't even have to have this all figured out yet, but can I do enough to stall and pause so that I can figure out if this is a healthy thing for me to do, if it's a godly thing for me to do, if it's whatever, right? Just buy yourself some time.
Right. One of the pastors that, here in Atlanta, he has one of the greatest questions he says you can ask is this wise? Is this wise for me to do?
Yeah.
And it can be as simple as how we're saying yes too much to our children. It can be as simple as, is this wise for me to do? It may not be wrong at all. And it may even be right. But sometimes right isn't always wise. Right? I think it's a good start to wise, certainly. But asking ourselves the question, is it wise? Let me attribute that to Andy Stanley. And so is it wise? And so some of you now have kind of begun to speak up a little bit around that noticing, and yes, avoiding conflict, right? And that's our kryptonite.
It is.
It
really is. Yeah.
I don't want to be in conflict. I mean, it's just easier to say yes and on we go. And then, right. And so this people pleaser is also, we're just peacekeepers, right? We're just keeping
Uh,
the peace.
peace. Well, as Leslie, I think, calls it peace fakers.
Peace fakers. Right.
We're faking it.
Right.
We're faking it because
Right.
it's not real.
Right.
We're doing is buying ourselves some time for it. Like I talk to our groups about the fact that it's that we think it's that short-term gain of saying yes. Oh, I'll get them off my back, or I'll feel good because I said yes, and not think about it. But it's going to cause us long-term pain.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to learn how to switch that around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And start thinking it may be short-term pain to say no, especially to our babies.
I love this. Right.
But to have the long-term gain.
Right.
That's what we need. We're because think about it, ladies, when we talk about our advancing the kingdom and wanting to serve our Lord, how can we if we're overscheduled?
Right.
How can we?
If we're
so every time you say yes in an unhealthy way or I don't know what we've talked about fear, whatever our basis is for that isn't otherwise healthy. I have to say, we're taking away from the Lord and what we could otherwise be doing with our time.
Yeah.
And when I start to learn that, even when it was me at church, sitting at that welcome center, trying to engage with people and saying yes, I knew that I was possibly dismissing an opportunity to serve the Lord down the road. And so I had to think about that pretty clearly.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I was on the Facebook, the Conquer part with Leslie earlier today. She was saying, I mean, she made a choice with somebody that she would have loved to have connected with, but she knew that would be a one-on-one. And if she did, a day's worth of one-on-one, she met 8 people. But where the Lord had taken her in her ministry, she knew that she needed to say no to that so that she could take what was going to happen in that interaction and actually, feed more people.
Right? That's right. And that's why the Lord blessed her to do that and have this audience.
Right. Is that she was able to sit in the attention of that. I mean, and as we talked about it, I mean, she said, I'd love to have this one-on-one with this other, it was a counselor. And I'd love to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say no. Yeah. But I knew I can only have so many one-on-ones, right? Rather than the truth is she has sacrificed some one-on-ones for you and for me and for everybody out here so that this message could really mature us in a beautiful way for the Lord, that we could really address people pleasing and the harm that it's causing us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so one of the things is I love this, I don't use that phrase and I need to turn that around from, the short-term gain, short-term pain to long-term gain.
Yeah.
I'll start using that if I can.
I like that. I try to use it with I try to use it with the groups, and it's always very eye-opening to take a common phrase and flip it around like that. Because it takes a lot of courage. Yeah. It takes a lot of like what I'm seeing in the chat here too is about boundary setting. And we know that's not easy. I mean, we could do a whole 6-month program, I think, on boundary setting alone. Yeah. It's not easy to do. And people pleasing, often here we talk about destructive, disappointing, or those types of relationships primarily with our husbands.
Right.
But when we're talking about people pleasing, this applies to everybody. You might be a teacher that doesn't even have her own kids, but you have 30 kids in your classroom.
Yeah.
Right. Or I'm a nurse with how many patients. And so not only am I trying to, or I previously was, trying to look after X number of patients, but you times that by 4 for each one of their family members.
Right.
Right. Let alone your fellow staff and the doctors and the pharmacists and that. Right. So it could be a workplace situation.
Right.
For some of us. So it could be a marriage situation. It could be a family situation. It could be a workplace situation where we need to look at ourselves first, and it's self boundaries. It's people pleasing is often about boundaries with others. Like I can't keep letting you do this to me. I have to say no. But I think it really starts with us. It's having boundaries on myself.
Right.
To say no.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and it's that internal boundary that says, I won't let myself be overstretched. I won't let myself, require of my family members what I've committed to. I won't let myself, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, one of the things that in this pause, notice, pause, choose, is creating this pause. One of my words that, kind of, if you all know much about big circles, some of the words that we use is calm is in one of my big circles. And so, um, it's really that pause place. It's like, I have got to get myself to a state of calm, because the truth is, I don't have a lot of ability to choose wisely or choose well when I'm all ramped up, right? When I'm all incited, when I'm nervous, when I'm fearful, when I don't want to engage in conflict. That's really hard for me to choose well then at that point. So I've either planned and prepared before, almost, I hate to overuse an addiction analogy, but as we begin to learn to get sober in all things, it doesn't mean even alcohol, is that we have to go through this noticing stage
Yeah.
and kind of notice our habits and notice the rituals in which we participate in something, right? And so this is why we kind of hung with notice so long, is that, ladies, I want you to notice kind of what you're doing, because now we have to develop a why. If I'm going to choose something, why am I going to choose that? Why wouldn't I choose what makes me feel comfortable for the moment, right?
Mhm.
Hey, this is fun,
Yeah.
right? Right?
I'm addicted
And
to the
so,
fun. So why
yeah,
wouldn't I choose that?
right. Well, of course I'm going to want to choose that. I'm with
Yeah.
her, but developing a why I'm going to choose what I'm going to choose, because then the choice becomes possible. Now I know, now I'm not like stuck like, well, no, now what am I going to do? I'm going to say no, but then what? Right? And so prepared with, taking a different route so I don't go past the liquor store, having prepared all these things that Jen just said, I would love to, like, maybe let's just put it in the chat. I would love this. Let's
Yeah.
put a couple things in the chat that give us some phraseology, just some phrases that we could say in those moments. Just a little tool for you ladies today.
Yeah.
It's a funny one to say. What is it? She says, I wish I wish I could, but I don't
Oh,
want to.
yeah. Stevie. Yeah. I wish I could. I just don't want to. I saw some friends from some friends fans out there. So yay.
It might be that sex question.
Yeah. It could be pretty bold, but yeah. I wish I could. I just don't want to. Goodbye. Good night. Roll over. No. I have
Well,
a headache. Have we not heard that one forever? I have a headache. Um,
no.
but
So we're not going to give you sexual things,
no.
but let's start creating really in realistic with our friends that, I would love to, let me check my schedule. Right. I really do. I mean, ladies, you need to check your schedule. I think that's a legit one. It's not just a, excuse. If you begin to engage in that pause, right? In that pause moment, that's what we're going to say. Pause. What do I need to say in this moment? I need to, slow down this train, because here I go. I'm fixing to say yes. So in that pause, I can choose I can choose. I'd love to. Let me check my schedule. Wow, I know my schedule is super full. I'm not going to be able to say yes to that. My kids just got out of school, and so I don't know what my schedule is just yet.
Mhm.
Can I think about it? Would you call me tomorrow? Let me think on that. I'd like to say yes, but let me think on that.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Just buy yourself some time, because right now your body's nervous and it's all worked up. It doesn't really know how to. And so if I have these go-tos, a quick something that I can say, now I have the opportunity to choose. I have the opportunity to look at my schedule and choose. I have the opportunity. So the pause isn't always just that I'm going to close my mouth and try to think of something. The pause is I can think of something, right? I can create this moment of like, I can get calm, right? And then in a calmer state, not standing there looking at somebody. Another one I'm thinking of, and then I want you to come up with some. I don't want to. Is like, I hear what you're saying. I want a minute to think about that.
Yeah.
Like if we're getting pressure from anybody, maybe it's our spouse. He's anxious. He wants you to tell him right now, right? If there's another phrase that says, uh, if I have to say, if you have to have an answer right now, my answer is no. If you will give me a minute, I might change my mind. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. My immediate answer is no.
Right. And then yeah,
And you're not going to like it. And I know that could lead to a whole bunch of other things. But as we get bolder and bolder and braver,
right.
I think that's where we need to go.
Yeah.
With this. So as you're mentioning those things, for those that aren't familiar, partly because you haven't taken the Moving Beyond People Pleasing program, or maybe you're fairly new to Leslie's amazing work, is a lot of times we talk about the soft nose.
Yes.
And that's what you're introducing, Elise. So I want everyone here too to understand that these little catchphrases and these things that you're so brilliantly putting in the chat are the soft nose, meaning that it's easing us into it as much as it may be easing into someone else to have to hear it. After that, if they keep pressuring you, that's more on them, and we get more into the boundary setting where we get into the hard nose. So we're not even at the hard nose yet, are we? We're still talking. This is the easy part of the conversation right now is,
Well, I think that it's really important though. We need to be able to take that first step.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think the thought of just even saying these phrases is going to be hard for, it's hard for me sometimes. It's like, oh, I'm going to say yes. I don't know that that's not my Achilles heel, but saying no, but I still squirm oftentimes.
Sure.
Absolutely. I mean, nobody's immune to this. No one. And so, but some of us are, more prone than others. And some of us have a really challenging time. I mean, it absolutely is your Achilles heel to say no and to watch the disappointment or the frustration or conflict that's going to arise from you saying no. Right.
Yeah.
And so somebody used a phrase, and let me, what was that? Oh, thank you for thinking of me. I'm just not able to do that. Right?
Oh,
I love that.
yay.
Thank you for thinking of me.
Yeah.
I
I love that.
I wish I could do that, right.
That's so amazing.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So yeah, and so I love how people are starting to say, "Can it?" And still, it's super uncomfortable. I'm gonna bend down just for a second.
Yeah.
Because I have a heater on. Because there's an air conditioning vent right above me. And I'm getting overheated a little bit while I'm talking about this. I can see it.
Which means that just means Coach Elise is that much more passionate about it.
Yeah, my face is getting pink. So anyway, I got to get a little more comfortable here because I'm going to lose my thoughts. So
no,
yes.
No, this is amazing because there's so many times that we, like we said earlier, we react so quickly. And understandably so. So don't anyone beat yourself up over this. I just want you to hear it now. I think that's what we want you to hear is the notice part. Mm-hmm. Because as Elise said, you've noticed all along. Mm-hmm. You just didn't really notice. Now we're charging you with, oh no, you really need to take notice, not just notice, but take notice of what is going on in you so that you can actually hit that pause button. And pause literally could be like what we're talking about. Oh, let me get back to you with my schedule. And that could be a week from now. Mm-hmm. A pause might be breath before I answer. And they might not even clue in. This isn't about the other person. At this point, I know we always think it is, especially when it comes down to people pleasing. It's all about the other person, but it's not. Right. It's about us.
Say more. It's true.
And so they're not even necessarily going to notice that all you needed to do is take that breath. So if I'm starting to notice something and I just need to, or feel my feet on the floor, just anything grounding to go, okay, this is me getting real here. I'm about to do something really, really hard. I deserve this. My kids deserve this. The Lord deserves this. Right. For me to just stay grounded long enough to say the next right answer. And so look at Elise and I and Martha and Jessica and Kim, I think, was somehow involved in this at some point. at the top of the hour. That is people pleasing because we genuinely care. We block this on our calendar. This is very important to us. And so we were willing to fight hard to be here for you right now.
Right.
Right. I mean, yes, we were all taking our breaths and we were all trying to problem solve together. Maybe, if I dare say, at least I don't want to speak for you, but in a reactive state, I think we were all like, I'm like, oh, I'll try to get on Facebook and let them know we're coming. And because we care. And I think that's the perfect example of when it's okay. That's healthy. And it's loving. And it's what we were called to do. But if it was Elise calling me at the last minute going, Jen, you weren't scheduled with me today. And I'm having these problems with getting onto, Facebook and having this conversation. Can you drop what you're doing and come on and join me today? I'd have to be really careful about that because I think there's definitely, I mean, I care about you, Elise. I would love to be your heartbeat. But if I had somebody else, a client, or I just need rest, or my dog needs to go for a walk, I'm going to have to say no.
Right.
And that's really, really hard to do sometimes. So that's where we have to we start to learn as we go forward with that pause to go, okay, is this the healthy version of people pleasing or maybe not so much?
Right.
That's what our pause is asking us to do as well. We're not saying to say no all the time.
Right.
We're just asking you to pause long enough to make the next best decision.
Right. One of the things too, the next best decision. Absolutely. One of the things that kind of came up for me just a little bit while we were talking is that for natural people pleasers, it is a place where we feel needed, right? And I think I want to tell everybody, you're going to get an opportunity all the time, and people are always asking, but it does feel good to feel needed and to make others happy, and we don't want to deny that. Right? If nobody was ever asking you, if you sat alone in a home and nobody ever called you and nobody ever needed you for anything, it would be very isolating. We feel very alone and really we kind of shrink up. Right. Yeah. And so what we want to do is we want to put, that we can please others. Like people pleasing is kind of the negative of the desire and actually the call to love well. Right. So this is kind of the dark side, the greatest commandment, that we are called to love well. Wow. And so can I love well in this moment? Or if I love well with you, where am I going to have to drop something else? And so God is calling us all the time to steward ourselves well, to please others, to bring joy to others, to love others, to care for others is a part of the greatest commandment. We are commanded to do that from the Lord, right? We're talking about, again, how sin, unfortunately, has skewed loving well. Because he would love for us to just be frustrated and sunk and not have any strength. I think, unfortunately, kind of the height of people pleasing makes us small, not big. Because we're never really authentically showing up. We're like, yeah. And so we're actually telling everybody, we're good with that. I'm good with doing that for you. I'm good with doing that for you. I'll let you kind of ruin the bank account because I'm too afraid to speak up, right? And say, that's not good for me. That's not okay with me. It pleases you to ruin the bank account, but it doesn't please me, right? And the truth is, at the end of the day, it's not loving well at all.
No, I love what you just said there. My mind's blown thinking about when you just said small again. I know we already mentioned it, but it hit me again to go, wow. Because I think one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves in the people pleasing sort of syndrome, if you will, is that I'm actually big right now for saying yes. When in fact, we are making ourselves small.
Right.
So the biggest lie is I am big. I can take this on. I can do whatever. I am going to make you happy. And we don't even clue in at that dark time, it almost, sinful time in a way to go, wait a second, what's the reality here? What's the actual truth?
Right.
And the truth is I'm actually making myself small and I'm fearful of disappointing you right this moment. But I think your disappointment is going to be bigger in me later.
Right.
For canceling at the last minute or something than it is right now.
Right.
So my so-called big quickly turns into a small that we just painfully figure out the hard way later.
Right. We
And
do.
that's what we're here to talk about, is if we can just pause long enough to go, is this going to cause me pain or not? And if it's not, go for it.
Right.
I want to be the benefactor of, like, the beneficiary of what you're going to do for me. Of course.
For sure. For sure. Yeah.
I just want you to think about it. I want to know that, and maybe that's another thing to talk about, is if you put yourself and have that empathy and you put yourself in that other person's shoes, I want to know that I can trust that when you say yes, you mean it,
Mm-hmm.
that you're not going to bail on me
Mm-hmm.
in the last second, that when you commit to making that potato salad for the barbecue, it's going to happen.
Right.
Right. Because it's trust. It's building trust in others. So
Mm-hmm.
I know everyone's values are different, but I'm pretty sure trust is a common one for all of us out there, like to be trusting and be trustworthy. And I know that I've let people down. I'm the first to own it. I know I have. I'm sure I have.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to go out of my way anymore
Mm-hmm.
to ever make someone doubt my credibility.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say I'm going to show up and this is what I'm showing up with, whether it's my heart, my potato salad, or something else,
Mm-hmm.
unless I get hit by a truck, I'm going to show up
Yeah.
like that. And I'd rather do that, and maybe possibly say no earlier, not to game it, but just to give myself a chance that if I can't show up with that potato salad, or, hey, I'm going to be rushed, so I might just stop at the store. Is that okay? That's even still, you're still committing to something, but maybe I'm not making it from homemade. It's not from scratch. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's also from our hearts too, is how much can I commit to that?
Well, and I think you're expressing your limitations. I can do this, but I can't do that. I can go by the store and do that. I can say yes to that. I can't say yes to homemade, hours of doing potato salad.
That's right.
And so I think as you kind of do that, let's transition. Like sometimes we can say yes to this, but not to this. And can we integrate that into be a part of the practice?
Yeah.
Even, as some of the phrases, like, yes, I can pick up your child, but I can't babysit them. I can take them to your house. Right. And so maybe sometimes we need to think about what can we say yes to?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And maybe it's a small part of it.
Yeah.
But again, stewarding ourselves well, being mature, that we have a clear yes and a no. When we are always in a people-pleasing mode, we are always actually, I believe, misrepresenting the real essence of who we are, right?
Oh, yes.
Because it's just not even possible to say yes at all times. We don't have that unlimited time, right? And also, there is a place where I would rather hold your emotions, and this is a negative, not a positive. I would rather hold your emotions than you have to hold my emotions.
Mm.
Okay. And what I mean by that is I would rather say yes to you and you not be disappointed than me say no. And now I have to live with that discomfort and you have to live with this discomfort. And so I'm going to hold your emotions for you. I don't think you can actually manage being disappointed.
Isn't that insulting?
It is.
If you look at it that way, it's very insulting.
Very
isn't
insulting.
It
is.
We're not giving that person the credit to being able to understand that, or even like to your point, it's okay. So I'm using the potato salad analogy, but okay, so I'm not going to make my world famous homemade potato salad, but what if I stop off at Kentucky Fried Chicken and get theirs? Is that okay? And then you put it back on them and you let them decide if that's okay or not.
Right. Exactly.
To me, that's respectful.
Yes. Right. Right. And so, so the word you use right there at the end is respectful. Is it respectful? Is it really actually honoring a person to say that you can't hold disappointment? Only I can hold disappointment. Now we're kind of circling back to arrogance again. Only I'm the one that can hold disappointment, and I can hold it well.
Yeah.
You can't. You're not mature enough to hold disappointment.
And then more arrogance because we think we can hold it well and we don't, because then it hits the fan later when we figure out we can't stay committed to all of this, right?
Exactly.
So,
yes. Okay. All right.
Yeah. I
So
know we're
we've
past
given
the
you
top of
guys
the hour. We've got to go.
we do have to go. We do have to go. I think I know how to shut us off. I could stay on for 1, 2, 3 questions.
Yeah, and
If
I
you want
have to
to,
run.
if
I
you
have to run. So yeah, and I also want to encourage. So at least thank you for being able to stay on. But for those that are either tuning in later and watching this, like we do see your comments. So once this becomes activated in terms of like a replay on Leslie's public page, we can go back in and see your comments. So don't stop. Keep
right.
commenting. So when we've
Yeah.
asked you to say what are those catchphrases, don't think you missed out because you didn't answer it half an hour ago. We're talking like as you're watching this, type it in again. And the coaches get on there as much as we can to see what you're saying and to respond. So
Right.
anyway,
Right.
thank you. Thank you, Elise. Thank you,
I'm
team, for keeping us here. And thank you to all of you. And then I will talk to you later.
all right.
Okay. Bye.
Take care.
Thanks.
All right. Bye. Thank you so much, ladies. I really appreciate you staying on. If you'd like, I would love to answer just a couple of questions, and then I will have to step off as well. But if you have a question around people pleasing, would you put it in the chat? I don't have another means by which to see that other than the chat. And so I'm going to get focused, put on my eyes here, and get focused on want to ask an anonymous question. Yeah, use the following link. Great. Your questions will go directly to the coaches. Are you going to send it to my, are you going to send it to my, would you send it to my phone? And you have that. Otherwise, I don't have, I think, that sheet. And so that's why I was inviting maybe if you would ask a question in the chat and make it kind of brief. So, hey, I'm the host. Oh, I'm reading my, oh, okay. Martha just says to me that she has to end the broadcast. So we have to do that. She has another commitment. I'm so sorry that we have to do that. So we will be on almost daily for the next couple of weeks and inviting you to the Moving Beyond Challenge. And so please join us and ask those questions because we're going to be talking about this subject a lot. About people pleasing because we know it's really important and it's something that we all do. God bless everyone. We certainly enjoyed you and thank you for hanging with us and join us. So take care and we'll step off. Bye-bye.